Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire is the fourth Harry Potter film after The Prisoner of Azkaban, and is about the Triwizard Tournament, where loads of different wizards from different places and different schools come together, and when Harry's name is accidentally put into the Goblet of Fire, there is a mystery surrounding this entire film as who put it in and why is Harry is taking part in this contest, and also about Harry taking part in a bunch of challenges, along with some really funny teenage drama, which is done really, really well. Now, this film was never one of my most rewatched films of the franchise. It's always one I didn't really like going to rewatch because it scared me as a child with the ending and stuff. And I wasn't a big fan of the Triwizard Tournament stuff. But over the years, I've come to really, really appreciate this movie for its drama, for its pacing, for its incredible character work, and its really strong emotional core. And that's what I love about Goblet of Fire. It sets up the tense world of this so well. We had a structure in the first three films that I think was perfected in Prisoner of Azkaban. So this movie, not just for the film, for the entire story that was written in the books and everything, they knew they had to change up the formula for what these were. We don't get these sort of typical scenes that you would normally see in the first three. We don't really get an overarching mystery. We don't get the three working together. It's very different, and it feels different. And Mike Newell, I believe, the one who directs this, doesn't direct it as well as Prisoner of Azkaban, but he does make it feel like a different film. And that's what I've always appreciated about Goblet of Fire. I appreciate how different it feels to the other Harry Potter movies. One of the reasons it does feel different is that John Williams doesn't score this film. It is scored by Patrick Doyle, I believe, and honestly, he does a magnificent score. There are some beautiful themes, Harry and Winter, the Potter Waltz. There is some absolutely brilliant pieces of music in this film, but some of the magic feels a little bit gone here. Not the magic overall sense, but that heartwarming feeling that's gone. There is drama between these characters that is set up really well. Now, I'm going to be getting into spoilers with this movie, so if you've never seen Goblet of Fire, go and watch the Harry Potter films and watch this one. And straight away, this movie starts off really dark with Harry dreaming of seeing like a baby Voldemort being born and setting up why his name was put into the cup. And then it goes to some fun world tournaments and stuff like that. And all of that was very, very fun. It sets up Barty Crouch Jr., who's played by David Tennant. I like his sort of very evil vibe to him, and there's some really great setup with, of course, the twist at the end that he is Professor Moody, and there's some great setup with his character and how that twist is revealed, and it's done really, really well because that hits you at a point where you think the film is over, and then you get that added twist in the end. It's really, really well done. It's like you think you've gone through enough with what tension that's built up in the finale of this film, and then you get that twist on the end. It's set up really, really well, and I do like his character as the villain of this film. And it sets up the return of Voldemort really, really well, and how Harry is being manipulated to do well in these trials, and it's really done well. And also, this movie sort of deals with some actual really, really good drama between these three characters. Ron and Harry are at odds. Hermione also. These three characters that have that heartwarming friendship bond feels like it's been ripped apart, and feels like there's actual tension there, and it does strip away some of the magical feeling and heartwarming feelings you get, and then by the end of the film it's all resolved, and you feel that loving embrace again, and I get chills, and I get emotional, and it's brilliant. And that's what this movie does very, very well. It's not afraid to take those risks, it's not afraid to do something a bit different than what your average Harry Potter movie does, and even though Prisoner of Azkaban was brilliant and unique, that movie did follow the formula of the first three, which Goblet of Fire goes against that, and that's what I appreciate. Now let's get into the trials that they have to do. We get the first one, which is with the dragons, very, very enjoyable. We get the second one, which is, of course, involving underwater, where they have to save the people from underwater. Very, very exciting challenge, very, very tense challenges, and there's interesting, creative ways of how those challenges are completed by Harry and how he's manipulated into completing them. Of course, stuff that Moody has set up. And then we get the third and final one, which is one of the best movie finales, in my opinion, of all time, where Harry goes into the maze. The error, the feeling, the just tenseness of it. Now, it does happen a little too quickly. We don't really get much setup for the maze like we do with the other sort of trials. We get quite a lot of setup for those. The maze one just comes in straight away, and then after that intense maze sequence, which is incredibly well directed, sort of feels a lot like The Shining, we get then the graveyard scene, which was always a scene that terrified me, and it still frightens me to this day, where Voldemort is reborn, Harry's stuck there. It is absolutely terrifying and brilliant filmmaking, and that scene where Harry, at the end of the film, where he's with Cedric, and Cedric dies, and he takes his body back. Of course, we see all the ghosts and stuff that arrive and give Harry that urge just to get out at the last minute in that really intense moment. But that scene where he walks out, he gets out the maze immediately, and he's got Cedric's dead body with him. And he gets out, and the music starts playing, this really cheerful music, and everyone starts clapping and laughing in the audience, not realising what has just happened, not realising what Harry has just witnessed and what he thinks he's caused. It is utterly horrific, because we have Robert Pattinson in this movie as Cedric Diggory, of course, who dies, and you never really learn much about his character at all. But that scene makes you feel the emotion because of what you've experienced, and because of how it's set up, and because of how it's done and how it affects Harry's character and all the characters around him, even though you don't really know much about that character in itself. And it's set up really, really well, and towards the end of this movie I do really feel those emotions, especially the emotional beat of Dumbledore coming in and telling Harry some really wise words. I love the line where he says, "We must make the choice between what is right and what is easy." That line has always stuck with me, telling him that he has friends here. After spending this entire year sort of feeling like he's on his own, I feel that was truly beautiful to move Harry's character forward and mature his character, and they do a lot to mature these characters in this movie. These characters feel older, and these characters feel like their friendship has developed over the course of this entire film, and you feel like there's a significant change there moving forward. Now, this movie does stop like halfway through for like half an hour to focus on the ballroom scene, which I love, and I love the fact we actually play like actual music. I love the song Magic Works from this film. It sets really, really nicely. When it plays during the ending credits, I get chills. It's amazing. Because it makes sense for the film and how you feel during that sequence, and it's very, very different for a Harry Potter movie to incorporate actual songs. But this entire scene does drag on the pacing a little bit for me. It is really great, but it does take away a few of the tension. But this movie takes its time to slow down and give us those character moments, which is something I really, really appreciate about Goblet of Fire. I do have some pacing issues with the movie. I think that sometimes it does drag considerably. The first 20 minutes is sort of a bit choppy and doesn't work as well as I want it to. And as there's not too much of a mystery of this one, besides the challenges, it sort of feels like you're waiting for things to get interesting. And then in doing so, it's not as immersive as the first three films are, because it does have a few pacing issues. But that's really about it. And also Ron, Harry and Hermione, that trio that, of course, sometimes sort of get sidelined in the film and feel like they don't have much meaning towards this story. And that's always been my favourite aspect of Harry Potter, that trio. And it sort of feels like it's pushed to the side here. And even though there's some drama there and tension there and you feel like it has developed, some of the characters do feel a little sidelined in this movie, and some of the new characters they introduced are quite bland. Overall, The Goblet of Fire was the first film in the Harry Potter series to change the formula of what these movies were. It feels different, but it still keeps that really magical feeling. It's a darker film, it's stronger emotionally, it has more character drama and character depth. That has always made it stand out in this franchise for me. It balances the tones between some humour, the tension, how frightening it is, and it balances those tones really, really well done to create another great experience of thrills, excitement, and emotion. Goblet of Fire is definitely not one of my favourite films in the Harry Potter franchise, but I think it's one of the best made. I absolutely love The Goblet of Fire. I absolutely love it. It's definitely up there. I think it's a great film, it's emotional, it feels different, it feels unique, and it stands out within this series. I'm going to give Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire an A. I'm also going to give this movie a 9.4 out of 10. Guys, let me know what you think in the comments down below of Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. And of course, thanks for watching, and goodbye.